I learned that they are incredibly competitive, more so than any other team I've coached, I would just say from top to bottom. So, you know, they just really, they compete in everything that they do. And I know that it sounds maybe silly to say that because, you know, of course you should compete, but this group competes differently. They literally want to rip people's heads off. I mean, they are nasty when it comes to competition, and I love it, and I'm here for it.
Coach Hoyt, you have one season in Stillwater under your belt. How does entering this season compare to how you felt last year?
It feels a million times better, just because I think, you know, the feeling of being settled somewhere, I think makes a really big difference. And whether that's being settled with my personal life or settled just here, you know, across the department, knowing who people are, knowing where things are, just those little things that make a difference. So I'm feeling a lot better going into this season, I would say.
What did you learn about yourself in your first year as head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowgirls?
Oh my gosh, I don't think we have enough time. You know, I think just a lot of affirmations that for us to be able to have the season that we had, and, you know, to be picked 9th and finish 4th and go to the tournament. I mean, just all those things, you know, I think it was just a really incredible season for me and our staff or our team to just understand what we're capable of doing. And I just think that the sky is the limit in the Big 12. And with all of this conference realignment, you know, I'm more excited and inspired and more confident than I've ever been.
You mentioned the realignment. Which new school are you most excited to go visit and play?
Ooh, probably, you know, I've never been to Cincinnati, so I'm excited about that. But I think anytime you can go to warm weather, I mean, Florida, Florida is Florida. So I'm really excited for all of them though. You know, I think that they each bring their own unique style, and just to get to kind of be in those different atmospheres, I think is going to be really cool for our kids.
This summer, you and your team traveled abroad to Europe, played exhibition games in Italy and Greece. How would you describe that experience?
Magical. I mean, it was just truly a trip of a lifetime. It was incredible just to, you know, be able to see those things, go to those places, and do it with a group of people that you love and care for. And I think not only was it just a really great experience for our kids, but for us as a coaching staff to just get those extra practices and see our team, you know, in the midst of competition before actual season starts is a huge advantage. So I was incredibly grateful just for that extra time and really just for the resources that we have here at Oklahoma State and administration that, you know, allowed us to do that, donors that support it. It really was a once in a lifetime trip. I had never been over there before. So, you know, just like I said before, personally and professionally, it was just incredible for us.
What was the favorite stop for you?
The favorite stop had to be Sorrento. So we got to stay a few days there, and just the Amalfi Coast is really incredible. We took a ferry over to Capri for a day and got to go out on a boat. That was probably, I think, everyone's favorite stop if you had to poll the team.
You have a handful of new faces on your roster this year. How does a trip like that help expedite team bonding?
It expedited it exponentially. I mean, you know, off the court, you get to, I mean, when you travel with people, and especially to another country, that's a whole different experience, right? And you get to learn about each other on a completely different level. So I think that it was really incredible for our kids to build their chemistry off the court, become more familiar with each other, learn more about each other's stories. But then of course on the court, you know, just learning each other's strengths and weaknesses and learning how I want to play. And, people don't realize the little things that go into it. It's not just your style of play, it's your terminology, it's what a practice plan looks like. It's all those things. So I think it was a really great advantage for us, like you said, to just really expedite that process and kind of figure out a little bit more of what we're made of before the season hits.
What exactly did you learn about your team on the court watching those exhibition games and coaching those games?
Well, I learned that they are incredibly competitive, more so than any other team I've coached, I would just say from top to bottom. So, they just really, they compete in everything that they do. And I know that it sounds maybe silly to say that because, of course you should compete, but this group competes differently. They literally want to rip people's heads off. I mean, they are nasty when it comes to competition, and I love it, and I'm here for it. So anytime we recruit a player, that's probably the first thing we look for is just how competitive are they. And I think that this team is competitive in a different way because it's not competing against each other ever. And I think a lot of times on teams, especially with females, I've kind of experienced that maybe they're competitive, but it's not in a, always the best, most positive way. It's more competition against each other. This group does not view it that way. It's how do I compete against me and be the best version of myself? And then how do I compete to do whatever it takes to help our team win? And I mean, we went over there and granted the competition wasn't the greatest, but I mean, we scored 100 in multiple games and they just had no mercy to them. I also learned that defensively, I think this team really has a strong identity. And of course, we want to play fast. We want to score it early in the shot clock and score a lot, I think is kind of a identity piece that all of the teams that I've ever coached have had. But this team, I think because of that competitive edge, has more just grit to them on the defensive end. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out for us.
And what a cut by Garzon, who lays it in, counted with a foul.
Just a smart. Leah Garcia had 38 points in one of your exhibition games over in Europe. She also received preseason Big 12 recognition. What does she bring to this team?
Well, Leah just has an ability to stretch the floor like no one else in this country. I mean, very few players in this country, I should say. But when you have to respect someone from the three-point line the way that other teams have to respect her, it just changes the game for us. It opens the floor up for her teammates to drive and, for us to be able to isolate other players. And it's just a really fun style. I mean, she was, that game, she was like a video game out there. I mean, I just kind of got to sit back and really just appreciated the performance that I was getting to see because to make that many threes on that many attempts is, I mean, that's special. I don't know if I'll ever get to see it again. I hope that I do this season from her. But no, she just, she obviously has an elite ability to shoot the ball. But then for this team in particular, I think just that Big 12 experience and playing at a high level, understanding how to get to the tournament and how to really get us back there.
In their orange jerseys with the green and white trim, and Oklahoma State in their white jerseys as Oklahoma State with the first possession of the game.
You mentioned the tournament. You are the first Oklahoma State coach ever to lead your team to the NCAA tournament in their first season as coach. What did that mean to you last season?
I would say that it didn't really ever mean much to me personally, but what I will say is that I had a deep, deep love for that team last season, and we had a lot of fifth-year players that, either stayed to play for me, which meant a lot in their last year, or transferred specifically to play here. And I saw those girls just give everything they had every single day to this program and to this university. And really going to the tournament was kind of my gift back to them. You know, it was a way that I could just appreciate everything they had done. And that's exactly why they came, because they wanted to go to the tournament. And I would say that that's really what made it so special, was just being able to honor the players and the team that we had.
See over to Alnanis. How about that for the three? Alnanis delivers.
It's a new year, fresh start. What has been the focus this offseason for the Cowgirls?
I would say that in this transfer portal era, it's always kind of going to be the same focus. How do we, sustain the success that we had before, but also be able to mesh all of the new faces that we have? We have a lot of new faces. So I would say the expectation, is the same. We want to get back to the tournament. We want to win in the tournament, but how can we mesh as quickly as possible in order to make that happen?
You said last season the Cowgirls were picked 9th, finished 4th in the Big 12. This year they're picked 7th in the preseason polls. What's your response to that preseason ranking?
I would just say that it doesn't mean anything to me because as I was thinking throughout the course of my career, any team that I've ever been able to lead has never, ever finished where we got picked or below it. We've only finished above it. So I think that this group, again, because of their competitive nature, they're very motivated and fueled by that. And I think that's just kind of a little bit of who we are at Oklahoma State, a little bit of that underdog mentality. And, I always coach with a chip on my shoulder. My players are going to play with a chip on their shoulder. So I think that it's just really nothing but motivation for us. And, something that's really going to just drive us forward, not to prove to other people who we are, but just to prove to ourselves.
You've mentioned this a little bit through other answers, but what do you think is the biggest challenge facing your team this season?
Just all the new, right? And not just new playing together, but just new to the conference. And the Big 12, I believe, is one of the best, if not the best, women's basketball conferences in the country. So you have to play at a high level every single night. And I think that the challenge for this group will just be to understand the level that you have to perform at consistently. And that's for anyone who, transfers to this level. And the fortunate thing for us this year is we got a lot of players who have played at the highest level, but the Big 12 is just a different beast. And I say that with the utmost respect. So I think that will be a challenge, just kind of understanding what it takes to win in the Big 12.
What do you think is your team's biggest strength?
Our biggest strength, I got to go back to that competitive nature that they have, but this team has this weird way of just truly loving each other and coming together as a family way quicker than what I would have ever imagined. I think the foreign tour helped play into that, but if you looked at this team on paper or looked at where where their backgrounds are from or what kind of families or parts of the country, any of it, you just look at them as a whole, you would think this team doesn't really fit. I don't really know how they, are going to get along or see eye to eye, but they love each other. I mean, they're together all the time, and it's really cool to just see, I think that that's one of the beautiful things of sport and of basketball in particular is just the way that it can bring people together. And the game has certainly done that for this group of girls. And so I would say our biggest strength, other than our competitive nature, is just their love for each other and a willingness to, sacrifice for the sake of the team.
How encouraging is that to see as a coach?
It's special. It's really special. Coaches spend a lot of time working on their culture and getting players to buy into one another. And I've been very fortunate to just have that come very naturally to them. But I also have to, say that our staff is incredibly intentional about building that culture and that chemistry. And I love my staff this year. They are phenomenal. And I think that they've really played into our ability to expedite the process of meshing.
Is it hype points?
Yes.
Are they still a thing this season?
Always. Always, yes. And we're even bringing a new, I don't know if I can say it yet, but you guys you'll know soon enough.
A new aspect to the hype point?
Yeah.
What do you think that does for your team in practice when there's an extra motivation to get the hype points, even if you're not officially, or do you officially keep score?
Yeah, we do. We have managers and assistants that track it. So, you know, that's just who we want to be. And that's what I've told our players is we really, everything that we kind of laid the foundation with, we really just want that to be the standard. And while we acknowledge it, we're not going to make a big deal out of doing things that I just expect you to do at this point. You know, being a great teammate, celebrating the success of yourself or of others, all that stuff. We just kind of want that to be our norm. But for sure, we're always going to acknowledge it. And, you know, we just want to play here with such a joy and a passion for what we do and who we get to do it with. And that's really what hype is about.